Good evening, everyone. I am Manya Khanna, as you know, Operations and Corporate Relation Associate. Welcome you all on behalf of Karuna Mediation and Arbitration Institute and our founder, Mr. Sahil Kapoor. So, he is being a family dispute resolution practitioner and a mediation enthusiast. He founded Karuna Mediation and Arbitration Institute with a vision to spread awareness of mediation for resolving disputes with compassion and empathy. In progress towards our awareness, our vision is we regularly organize related webinars to spread awareness about mediation for students and professionals who all will be the future building blocks of this particular sector. And we also thank Center of Mediation and Conciliation from Bombay Chambers of Commerce for joining us as an associate partner. We have also announced our internationally recognized mediation training in collaboration with EMS Solutions, United Kingdom, accredited with IMI and CMC United Kingdom. This training has been done by Ms. Emma McHenry, who is an award-winning trainer. After successful completion of this training and assessment, you will become an IMI qualified mediator. You can learn and more about registrations and all the process by visiting our website, and you can also enroll yourself in our January weekend batches of 2023. So more than 11 crore people in India have been employed in MSME sector. It's a concern that's how this industry far economy is being growing. We also have a look at its health sector. If any of the other disputes come, it falls down into ease of doing business, and which also affects the business relationships among the businessmen. So today's webinar will be the discussion on mediation as a mode of settlement for MSME industry. To impart and share knowledge about today's topic, we have our expert panelists who will throw lights to all the facts related to mediation and MSME industry so that we can be benefited how one can be benefited from mediation in the MSME industry. We have with us today Mr. AJ Jawad is an advocate and an accredited mediator with more than 17 years of experience in conducting civil, commercial and matrimonial mediations, working also globally and based in Chennai. Is one of among our advisory board members also. He is an accredited digital dispute resolution specialist, which is mean DDRS, with ADR ODR International UK and a partner and head of ADR services with KDLX Chambers Gurgaon, and is also been a senior mediator and a trainer working globally and as work as a mediation in a mediation conciliation project committee of the Supreme Court of India. Is also co-founder and a former trustee of Foundation for Comprehensive Dispute Resolution based in Chennai. Is also served as an Indian specialist mediator with the Singapore International Mediation Center and the Bombay Chamber of Commerce. And is also a guest faculty for the master degree program in various institutions and like Maharashtra National Law University, and is also empaneled as an arbitrator with the Madras High Court Arbitration Center and the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Now we have Mr. K.Annamalai. Mr. Annamalai owns a consultancy firm, becoming a strong broker, stockbroker and investment consultant, and also a founder member of Coimbatore Stock Exchange Limited. Served as a treasurer and a vice president and a president of Coimbatore Stock Exchange Limited, and also a designated partner in ACS Capital Market Academy, LLP Training Division. Is also managing trustee of Anusha Keshavan Charitable Trust and a member academic council of Karpangam Deemed University, and is a honorable secretary of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Coimbatore. It's a pleasure to have you all with us. I welcome you all in today's session of the first session of Saturday series of mediation. This mediation, which our take has been from the past mediation sessions, which carved our path to the present sessions of mediation, a mode of settlement of MSME disputes. Before proceeding further, I request, if possible, to please switch on your cameras who have been put it down off, and please mute yourself in between of the sessions. If possible, you have any questions, do write it in the chat box, and in the end, we will have the question and answer series too. So my first question is, what type of businesses comes under MSME and what kind of disputes MSME sector may have? I request Annamalai sir to enlighten us in this aspect. Over to you, sir.
Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, Mr. Annamalai.
Yeah, thank you so much, madam, for your nice introduction. And good evening to everybody. Wish you all very happy New Year. And we welcome for these sessions and participating in this great event. Of course, see, this is a need of the days. This mediation is the most important, conciliation process to carry on our business without much getting involved in the legal disputes. The question is that what kind of, nature of disputes normally arise? Am I right, madam?
So the first part of the question is, what type of businesses come under MSME?
No, the type of business you have now, there is no much reservation for starting any MSMEs. It depends on the definition of the capital deployed in the particular business and the turnover. That is how MSME have been described by the government of India. Otherwise, you can do any business in MSME sector, starting from anything, services, industry, manufacturing, repair, so many things, export, anything you can do. But you come under the category because you are a smaller segment. You are a micro size, a medium size, small size, based on your capital employed in the particular business or in industry, and how much turnover you do that. Based on that, this classification comes. And otherwise, there is no such a sector. You cannot do these, you can do this like that. Even you can do from the defense sector, you can do nuclear, you can do small grinder, you can do furniture, you can do anything. And so there is no reservation for this kind of course, there is a larger scale industries, there are some reservations, which they cannot do in some MSMEs, but otherwise MSME can do anything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And our second.
Yeah. What's your second question?
Second part of the question is, what kind of dispute MSME sector may have?
See, the largely the 95% of the dispute from SME sector is only on the payment side. And that is the major issue most of the people are facing, because they give order, and the second part is that they're not delivering the goods, or the quantity delivered in not in a good quality. Disputes, basically, I have come across, because we are handling in the district interest center almost every day 200 cases, and 90% of the cases are invoice related, payment related, the quality of the consignment and delivery delay or wrong consignments. These are all the nature of most of the disputes are coming in the MSME sector.
Thank you, sir. I request Jawad sir to please share your views.
Yeah, I think on that, Annamalai is the expert as to what kind of disputes arise under the MSME sector. But, depending on the size of the enterprise and number of employees and all that, I just want to ask Mr. Annamalai, whether have you seen any disputes where, there is employer-employee dispute, where, workplace conflicts that arise, sexual harassment cases that may arise in the MSME sector, in particular enterprises, if there are cases where, women come and complain. Women employees may have a grievance against either the management or a fellow employee or a supervisor of sexual harassment. So the scope, I feel, is very huge, sir. Apart from that, apart from the payments and the invoices, the quality of the goods that are supplied, apart from those disputes, do you see any scope for these disputes also coming up, and how do you think these disputes are being handled by the MSME? I'm sorry, I'm putting it as a question to Mr. Annamalai.
No, it's good, because it's very relevant. Of course, this is the issue to be discussed. It's very relevantly you have asked. I appreciate that. But the first number one, that with regard to that employer-employee disputes, See, it comes quite often, especially nowadays, that the migrant laborers in India, it's become very peculiar in probably in every state. I do not know about much in North. In South today, every industry, every service sections have employed a migrant employees, mostly either from Bihar or Odisha or Assam or from like that, from various states. And the locals are, I do not know that we are really surprised. The locals are not working, and most of them are employed the migrant laborers. So there are a lot of disputes are coming on the migrant side, but those disputes are not coming into the mediation center. And especially the labor type of disputes, with the employer-employee, it mostly goes to that either the deputy commissioner of labor and that kind of a government monitored mechanism. There is a separate ministry is there to take care of labor-oriented issues. And otherwise, mostly they join with some of the unions, trade unions, and the trade unions directly, negotiate with the management, try to arrive at settlement with regard to the permanence of labor or increment or a bonus or working conditions or a quarters, either their toilet facilities, so many things, especially the migrant labor, we have a peculiar problems. Especially like a Coimbatore, predominantly, dominated by some MSMEs. And almost 60% of the productions are happening from MSME sites in Coimbatore. They recruited almost around 250,000 employees, migrant laborers here. So the problem is that, first of all, the identity. They come in a group, sometimes they leave in group, because you have to recruit through an agent, and that suddenly they will disappear. And they will stay together, and if they create a problem, everybody try to create a problem together, and they join together because they talk, that other than their language and the local language, the problem. And again, that another issue is that sometime in a safety of these employees as well as an employer side of properties. Even we had a chamber, there is a lot of requests from the members that these migrant employees, sometimes they behave violently and they are in a group. Sometimes we are afraid of even going inside their residence, staying places. We do not know what they hold. Especially the jewelry manufacturing. Last time we had a peculiar complaint from the jewelry manufacturer associations that we keep valuables and we do not know how to depend on them, and very difficult to chase them also once they go out of the campus. Even they requested the police commissioner to come with some kind of a regulation how this, the migrant labor in MSME sector can be regulated. This is one of the biggest issue, but that does not come to the mediation center. Another question you asked about that, sexual harassment. See, MSMEs normally, that it's more of labor-oriented institutes, and where the heavy labor movements are there. The ladies' employment are very lesser in those sectors, especially in a machining center, turning center, casting, foundries. My service side, okay, a lot of girls are there, but we don't get much of the complaint. Sometimes, they try to, because that normally the ladies, they don't come out openly, south side, that mostly the people are shy and they do not want to expose themselves to get exposed about if any harassment is there. I don't say there is no harassment, but there are, but they don't come out openly. And it does not come out much publicly except a few incidents. And this is with regard to that. The third factor, that with regard to the working conditions and all these things, majorly what we experience is that mostly the payment issues, delayed payment. Probably if I take a little more time, I had a specific incident last week, another member complained. He was manufacturing, that food processing industry where he needs to have a stainless steel boiler with a particular grade. I do not know, somebody had referred him from one of the manufacturing unit from Pune. And they exchanged all the offers and specification, everything. And the total cost of the material was around 8 lakhs rupees. These people have sent an advance of 5 lakhs rupees, and they promised to deliver 2 months time, 3 months time, 4 months, finally go on. When they finally found out that there was no such unit in Pune, and when they went there, they locked down. There was no such people, and finally nothing could be done. And 7 lakhs rupees they have paid, and finally they could not trace it out. And these are also some kind of, things are happening. These are all some incident just I quoted for your information.
Because those cases, I don't see any scope for mediation, because that's
Yes.
a case of cheating and fraud, where somebody
True.
has taken the money and
True.
See, because I'm right now, I'm mediating one dispute which has been referred to me, where this MSME had entered into a contract with the contractor for supplying of labor.
Oh, okay.
Now, what happened was some of the labor, they decided to unionize. They sort of got not a formal union as such, but they decided to, demand for regularization and for higher wages. And therefore, they created a sort of a union, and they started striking work. And, there was also some damage to property. So what has happened now is the enterprise is now suing the contractor.
Yes.
And has withheld the payment to the contractor who has been supplying this labor. So that dispute has been referred to mediation. So that is why I asked you the specific question.
Yeah, true, sir.
There is a scope for mediation in those kind of disputes also.
Yeah, true.
And yes, what I personally feel is, because as you rightly said, it's a cultural aspect where particularly, where the female employees are the sexual harassment cases. It is, of course, a cultural aspect that, many women don't really report this kind of an harassment. So that is where I feel that, it is important that the enterprises or, perhaps the Chamber of Commerce, like what you are heading now, you have a mechanism like perhaps an ombudsman kind of a service, or perhaps outsource it to some, mediation agencies that provide, institutions that provide mediation, where the employees can directly contact. So it should be a part of the instructions or the information that is given to the employees, that they have, if they have such issues, and if they fear that there is going to be some kind of there's going to be some kind of a pushback, or some kind of vendetta that will be unleashed on them by the employee, they can do it in a confidential way,
yes,
so that they can report it to you or to the to the ombudsman, and then perhaps we can try mediation there, to see whether this can be resolved amicably, safeguarding the interest of the women employees and ensuring that there are adequate safeguards that are provided. So that is one thing that I was thinking of even as you were talking. So I feel there is some scope there for mediation. The second thing that I wanted to also, since Mr. Annamalai is here, I'm just taking this opportunity to bounce off some ideas with him. Because it becomes very important for every enterprise, business enterprise or an organization to have an ombudsman. But what happens is, for MSMEs particularly, the cost factor is too much. So they cannot really afford to, have an individual ombudsman or, provide the kind of space and the kind of support that is required to have an ombudsman for each enterprise. And that is where I feel that, chambers of commerce or mediation institutes can be outsourced. So the ombuds services can be outsourced to, mediation institutions who can, take care of these disputes that come up, which may include the whole gamut of disputes that may arise in this, because not only the, payment issues, delivery issues, quality issues, employee issues, sexual harassment issues, all these can be referred as a first try. First attempt is to try mediation, go to the outsourced ombuds service that is being provided, and try to make use of that to resolve the dispute. If that fails, only then, you go to the other, either whatever the statutory authorities who are there, or the courts, or wherever you need to go. So that is one option, I think, perhaps that you as the, head of your Chamber of Commerce can work on. It's just a suggestion from my side. I'm just trying to bounce off this idea from you.
Yeah, true, sir. I 100% agree with you. We do have the proposal to, because as a chamber, we can facilitate. We can facilitate, we can provide the venue, we can make as a center for conducting all these things. Actually, last board meeting also we have discussed this, and probably you can send your things in a mail. We will propose it and we can set up a center. because it is an independent. We only facilitate, invite our members and others to come with their problems so that they can resolve it through a mediation. And especially as you say that there is a lot of privacy may be available. It need not be, yes, a lot of privacies are available so that people need not worry about their identity, whether they get exposed to the public. And that's a good idea, sir. We have a proposal, sir. We are really, thank you for offering. And we are interested. We can set up a such center. And yeah, this will enable them to shorten their, the dispute resolving process.
Yes.
And also there is absolute confidentiality is there. Because sometimes when you go to the court, when you go to the public, resolving mechanism, it takes longer time, and the advocates, there is all these things are, you are aware all these things.
Yes.
And it's we are more interested, sir. We are ready for the proposal.
That's wonderful, sir. So I will get in touch with you. I think I'll talk to Manya and get your contact details perhaps right now. So sorry, Manya. Please go ahead.
Please continue.
No, please go ahead. No, I just wanted to put this suggestion to Mr. Annamalai. So you can continue with your questions.
So like as sir said, mediation must be the compulsory or kind of a mechanism for all the disputes kind of, so that it can be cost effective, confidential. I do have one question, like what can be the other more benefits of using mediation as a compulsory mechanism in resolving MSME disputes? And did mediation helps to avoid any hindrance in the MSME growth? So what are your views, Annamalai sir?
No, there is, see, when they come to the mediation, there are a lot of advantages I noticed, because that, see, the time, first of all, the time consumed. When I go to a court and, the frequent adjournment, and, you carry on your disputes for many months, sometimes many years, either due to the judge's problem or the advocate's problem, or other side they don't file the respondent don't file the reply, or they go on getting time, and it's a money and time. This is the most two important factor if they come for a mediation. That's what I really like to tell you, the most advantages. Number 3 is that here, mediation center, I personally can come and represent my problem. I don't require to engage an advocate or somebody else. Sometimes, many times I notice that the advocate take up the cases which they may not understand the real issues, and when they represent, they don't able to represent properly. They represent in a different way. The issue may be a different sensitivity. So that, but when I come, I am a person affected. When I represent in my own language, I can do it better than anybody. Of course, I may not know the sections, which section this is an offense, which section that is an offense. I may not know the either IPC or CPC or CRPC or whatever that various kind of laws, but I can tell my issues to the person who is sitting mediating, as acting as a judge and mediator. I can tell, this is what my problem, please help me to solve it. The same way the other side also, they can always, then we can also compromise. We can also compromise. Okay, somebody has to pay me around 2 lakhs rupees the last 2 months or 5 months. So if they're ready to settle at one time 1.5 lakhs rupees, forgetting, foregoing in interest, foregoing something, okay, let me think that, yes, I am ready for it. Instantly, I can agree. Which court I cannot do that? Again, no, you give time, they give the time, and they go that. Even if I am ready, my advocate may not accept. No, don't worry. I will take you up to Supreme Court. I will get you things that. Don't worry about it. By the time to collect 2 lakhs rupees, I will have to spend 20 lakhs rupees. So these are all the best advantages available in the mediation. And then furthermore, it conducted in a closed door, in a things so which others may not know. And whereas in the court, whatever you do, that everybody knows that what is happening. And especially in the industry, when somebody knows that this is a person is in a regular defaulter, or he is having a financial issue, and even somebody wanted to give me an order, they will not give, because this fellow often having a financial problem. He does not know how to collect his money. He does not know how to manage his working capital. He does not know how to maintain the vendor relationship or a labor relationship, or this kind of, the issue. These are all the issue. I feel that the mediation is the best process. I think that the government is also serious about it. Even the bill is mentioning a lot of things. And even there is a time restriction, because you have to get resolved that within 180 days. You have to resolve your disputes. And you have a right to withdraw it any time. Within 2 months, you can try to withdraw. And so these are all the mediation bill facilitates a lot of things to shorten the duration of the dispute and the quicker result. And if you want to even go for an appeal, you can go to an appellate court, which need not again, that long lingering around the lower court and this court, that court, sub court, magistrate court, like that. So I find that there is a best, even government is more interested that the bill for 2021 highlights a lot of issues, how the mediation is good for the everyone, especially these MSME sectors.
I just want to add to what Mr. Annamalai said, Manya, if you permit me. Can I just add to what he said?
Yes, sir, sure. And even I also have one question apart with this too for you.
Oh, okay. Okay, then you ask the question. Perhaps I'll try to club both these things together. Yeah.
Okay, no worries, sir. So
Yeah.
my question is, like sir has asked about the mediation bill and the MSME especially. So what are your thoughts about being, especially for the MSME industry, we should include a compulsory mechanism for the mediation, that you should first compulsory go for the mediations thing, and then afterwards you can continue for the appellate or further other courts. Let's first give a chance to mediation. So like, I would like to know your thoughts, should be included in the mediation bill or not?
Yeah,
Like
that's
that.
a good question. Actually, I was hoping that you will ask me that question because there's a lot of controversy, over this mandatory mediation concept. Because essentially, mediation being a voluntary process, can you really mandate mediation? Can you
Exactly.
compel parties to go to the mediation? Now, my argument is this, that, many times people don't know that such a mechanism is available to you. Essentially, mediation is an empowering method. As Mr. Annamalai pointed out, you have control. Okay, you are going to, and you will be speaking what is important to you. Okay, you're not outsourcing what is important to you to somebody else to interpret and put it in his or her own way. You're going to do it yourself. So many people don't know about it. So mandatory mediation essentially means that you have to go for mediation. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to settle in the mediation.
Yeah.
Okay, the element of voluntariness attaches to whether you want to resolve through the mediation or not. Now, it is not necessary that you may find a resolution through mediation because there are two sides involved. Okay, and two sides have their own claims or demands or whatever, they have their own positions. Now, it depends on the skill of the mediator as to how the mediator is able to move both sides beyond those positions, help them to understand what their interests are, and see whether there's, the zone of possible agreement that may perhaps arise once they identify their interests and what is important for them. Okay, so it depends on the mediator. So you don't have to necessarily resolve through mediation, but it is in your interest, because I always tell this. I give this example of a landlord-tenant dispute that was referred to me for mediation, and the court referred both of them to me. And I don't know what the lawyer had told the landlord, but he just stormed into the room, literally burst into the room. He pointed his finger at me and said, "Who are you? Who are you? Why should I come to you? You have no power. My lawyer tells me you have no power. Why should I come to you?" So I just smiled at him and I said, "Would you mind sitting down?" He sat down because he was surprised. I was smiling back. I was smiling at him when he was so angry. So he sits down and I tell him that before you came to this room, who had the power to, give a decision in this matter? He said, "The judge." I said, "The judge has taken that power and given it to you and has told you that, look, this is your problem and your tenant's problem. Both of you go to this person who's sitting over there and he will guide you on how to use this power to find a resolution for your dispute. Now the choice is yours. You want to use this power or you want to go and give it back to the judge, saying that, look, judge, I don't want this. Thank you so much, but you please use this power to find my solutions. Now you decide what you want to. Now he quietly sits down and we go ahead with the mediation, and fortunately that got resolved also. So you see, many people don't know, okay, what is mediation? They don't understand the process. They feel that, why am I? When I have come to the court, I have paid my court fee, I have engaged my lawyer, why should I now go to a mediator? Or when I have the option of going to the court, see, See, because we basically, we have this, though, the culture of dialogue has always been there in our civilization from ancient times, we have somehow become very argumentative. Okay, so we always like to have our day in the court. We always want to prove our claim in the court. And one of the very common threats that you will come across is, I'll see you in the court. Okay, so this is where the problem comes. So we need to change that mentality. And that is where, just to add to what Mr. Annamalai said, let us remember that you continue to remain in control of your dispute and you are in control of the solution. It's up to you to find a solution. Okay, the mediator only guides you or helps you in understanding what your real interests are and finding a solution. So basically, it's a very empowering process. You're not, outsourcing your problem to somebody else to deal with. What happens when you enter into a lawyer's office? You become a client. You lose your identity. You go to the court. You're a plaintiff or a defendant. You don't have an identity over there. So you're only referred to as a plaintiff or a defendant. You get into the witness box. You're referred to as plaintiff's witness 1 or defendant witness 2. That's your identity. Whereas in mediation, what you feel is important for you. Okay, what you think is important for you, that figures, and you get an opportunity to speak and decide what is best for you. So what can be better than that? Why not try that? My question is, why not try it before you decide to, give that power to somebody else? Why don't you use the power?
That's a very deep wisdom of the subject aspect, sir. Thank you very much for having such a viewpoint. And I request my audience, if you have, take up this opportunity. If you have any questions, then write up in the chat box. We will surely be taken in the last. Now I have my second question related to my first question only. That does the settlement agreement obtained through the mediation be enforceable under law? Jawad, sir.
Yeah, see, now there are two ways of looking at it. We are now expecting the Mediation Act to come into force. And if it comes into force, it will have the power of a court decree. It will be as effective as a court decree. Once you reach a settlement, the mediated settlement agreement can be executable if supposing there is a default. Okay. Now, as of now, we don't have that, but we do have the Commercial Courts Act. And most of the disputes where will come under the definition of commercial causes. And there, Section 12A makes mediation mandatory. So you have to go for mediation before you opt for anything else, before you choose to go to the court. So that is where, and that 12A says that if you reach a settlement, that will have the force of an arbitral award. So it is like as if you have gone through an arbitration and you have obtained an award. So it has that effect. The only thing is it's an agreement reached between the parties. So essentially what is important for the parties, what they feel is important for them to resolve this, that figures in the agreement. And if any of the parties defaults, you can always go and execute it in a court of law. Now, those causes which don't come under the definition of commercial causes, what we are now doing in the absence of a Mediation Act is, we are bringing it under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Part 3 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act talks about conciliation. And it confers the status of an award on agreed terms on a settlement that is reached through conciliation. So what we basically do is, we follow the process of mediation, like we do facilitative mediation, because the Conciliation Act, the Arbitration Conciliation Act, expects the conciliator to frame the terms of settlement and give them to the parties for approval. We don't do that. We act as mediators, but we call it as conciliation. And when we reach an agreement, it is treated like an arbitral award. It has the force of an arbitral award. So this is how we are dealing with the present situation where we don't have a law on the subject. Whatever available tools are there, we are using them to give effect to mediated settlement agreements, so that people don't end up with simply an enforceable agreement. Because what will happen is, if it is just an enforceable agreement, if there's a default, again they have to go back to court and start de novo proceedings, filing a suit or a claim or whatever. So we avoid that. So we do it in this way so that it becomes executed.
It's the draft law also very clearly is telling that.
Exactly, yeah.
Very clearly, the pre-litigation mediation is a must. Once the mediated settlement will be a final and binding as of like court.
Like a decree of the court. So once the act comes into force, that problem is solved for us.
Yes, yes.
So we don't have to worry.
Yeah. Any other views, Annamalai sir, you want to add up in the particular answer?
That's what, because we are all waiting for, that the bill come into force. Once that come into force, it will be a professional body. It will get a legal teeth. And once that all the professional people, once accredited, act as a media center as per the act. And that will help to resolve a lot of, it's the alternative. Probably, I don't know why it's getting delayed. Probably, everywhere, there is an interest rate circle. And because, so that may be the reason. I don't know. We do not want to go into that. But I personally feel that even our chamber feels that once the bill come into force, the mediation process will get a legal teeth, and that will help a lot of either civil side or the commercial side. And both will not get because see, probably overall, other than the criminals, the activities, all things will come under this. So it will social, commercial, and that industrial, all kind of civil disputes that can be resolved through this alternative dispute mechanism.
Thank you, sir. My next question is, what role private mediation institutions can play in resolving dispute in MSME sector? I request Jawad, sir.
See, it's very important to have institutions first. Okay. We have seen what happened to arbitration in India. Of being the size that it is, and in spite of having the legal systems, everything in place, arbitration has still not taken off in a big way in India, and India is still not preferred as a seat of arbitration by, for cross-border disputes and all that. People opt to go to Singapore, they opt to go to London, they opt to go to Paris, but they don't want to come to India. Now we have to see why. It's basically because we failed to institutionalize arbitration. It continued to remain an ad hoc process. It is controlled by the courts even today. And courts appoint retired judges as as arbitrators. And what has happened as a result of that is there has been no systematic development of arbitration the way it has developed in other jurisdictions, in other countries. Now, we cannot allow mediation to go the same route. And that is where I think it's very important that we create institutions. For example, you have Karuna mediation, we have KD Lex chambers, there is BIMAC, there is CAMP. There are so many institutions that are coming up. And it's very good that these institutions are coming up. And I always tell my friends in these institutions that we are not competing with each other, because still the market is yet to open up. Okay, and we have all got to work together to develop mediation to such a level that that becomes the first port of call if you have any dispute, and you don't rush to the court and or conciliation or whatever. So mediation should be the first option. Hopefully, once the act comes into force, if the mandatory mediation clause remains, because there are a lot of questions that are being raised by, as Mr. Annamalai said, vested interests, who don't want that to come because they feel it will threaten them. And I always tell lawyers that mediation is not threatening your livelihood, because what you are living today, you're making your livelihood out of, is only, in fact, Niti Aayog came up with a report which said that approximately about 4% of justiciable causes alone come to the court. Now, what happens to more than 96% of these causes? They get resolved, either people live with the conflict, they don't want to go to the courts because it's too costly, or they take recourse to some extrajudicial mechanisms like the local gunda, the local politician, or the local police station to resolve the disputes. And you're losing out as lawyers. And imagine when you have a legitimate method of dispute resolution that is going to be quick, that is going to be in the party's control, it would expand your portfolio. And mediation advocacy is going to be the next big thing, because it is completely different from litigation advocacy. Okay, you cannot have the litigation advocacy mindset when you're assisting your client in a mediation. You have to have a completely different mindset. I'm doing one mediation right now where I can see this marked difference between the two lawyers. One is, though he's not trained as a mediation advocate, he's a mediation advocate because he's doing everything in his power to find solutions. Whereas the other man is trying everything in his power to block the resolution. So you see the difference because he's adopting a totally, litigation mindset. So he's talking about proof, he's talking about documentary evidence, he's talking about the sections of law, he's talking about everything except trying to find a solution as to what his client needs. And the client seems to be understanding, but he's helpless. So this is the problem today. Okay, so how do we deal with this? Now, unless we have institutions, very strong institutions that have panels of mediators, well-trained mediators, okay, that is one more matter of concern because there are so many now training things that are coming up. Now, Karuna Mediation is doing, that is a very structured mediation training program that you're doing. That is the kind of training that we need. We are tied up with ADR ODR International. We are offering a structured training program. Now, what is happening is people are offering online training programs for as low as 10,000 or 5,000 or 6,000. And training programs are conducted. There is no hands-on experience given, no simulation exercises, no role plays, only theory is taught. And how do you expect, and you're certifying them as mediators? How do you expect them to go and mediate? Mediation is not a joke. It's much, I have acted as an arbitrator, I have acted as a mediator. It's very easy to be an arbitrator. It's very easy to be a judge. You hear about the parties and you decide what the law is, what the facts are, how to apply the law to the facts and pass a decree or an award. Whereas in a mediation, you have to move the parties. Okay, you have to, they come with their own biases, they come with their own prejudices, they come with their own perceptions. So you have to work with them, you have to communicate with them, you have to help them to understand and explore their interests, help them to explore different options for settlement. So this is not easy. You need those communication skills. You need to have those negotiation skills. And unless you keep practicing those skills, you're not going to learn them. Theory is not enough. I may make my notes, but how do I do it? I can sit and, watch somebody drive a car, or I can see somebody drive a car and, this is the steering, this is the gear, this is the clutch, this is the transmission, all that somebody will tell me. But the problem is, unless somebody makes me sit in the driver's seat and drive the car, how am I going to learn to drive the car? It's something similar to that. How do you expect to learn mediation through a theoretical? You need a practical approach. You need to give role plays. You need to make them do that. Make them do simulations. So these are the challenges, Manya, and I feel that, I'm very happy at the work that Karuna Mediation is doing in promoting the right kind of mediation training program. Okay, and that is very important. And we need to create more institutions like yours, like mine, like so many other institutions that are there. The more, the merrier. India is a huge country. And even if there are 100 institutions in every state, there will be enough and more work for everyone. And ultimately, it's the quality that counts, and the market is going to decide on the quality, right? It's the quality of service that you offer. So today, what is important is to create the awareness to, do what is needed to have a good panel of mediators, a good pool of mediators. If the mandatory mediation comes, where are the mediators? Do we have really qualified and well-trained mediators? Now, these are some of the challenges that we have in India today. And we need to, deal with those challenges, and we need to establish those institutions. Sorry if I sounded too passionate about it.
Mr. Jawad
Totally agree, sir, with all the viewpoints. No, this, yes. Yes, sir.
Mr. Jawad has used the right word. We
Yes.
have to really appreciate it. He said that mediation gives a solution.
Yes.
It does not give a judgment. Judgment is different from a solution.
Solution, yes.
Solution, any problem, we need a solution. We don't require a judgment. Because why the court is prolonging, going to up to Supreme Court? Because judgment is not a solution. It is a decision of the judicial authorities. But it gives a solution. Once you get a solution, there is no problem. Absolutely. That, see, those days, olden days, if you look at it, we have a panchayat. They resolve all the disputes in the villages. Today also you have a political kata panchayat. We call it in Tamil, we kata panchayat, that they call the gundas. He mentioned all these things. Really, that mediation, see, as you say, that the private mediation, how they will play a role. Probably once the Mediation Council of India is set up,
Yes.
then naturally that the regulation of mediation will come into picture. See, any professional, they can enroll with like a SEBI in the stock market, SEBI is a regulator. Any intermediaries in the financial market have to get registered and they get regulated, so that you have a professional. And as he rightly said that, it's the training, it's a certification process. So they professionally qualified to handle how the mediation should be done. And and also the training is not going to be a one-time affair. It is going to be consistent and on a periodical basis. You have to update your knowledge, because even in stock market, our certificate is valid for 3 years. Again, you have to write and you have to pass the examination that continue the profession. Like that, it's probably this is a right initiative you have started, that training the people on mediation. It's great.
That's totally agree, sir. Awareness literally needed in India. Yeah. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So my next question is, how about exploring a technology like ODR for MSME disputes? And can online dispute resolution change the way of global MSME doing businesses online globally everywhere? So Annamalai sir, what are your views?
Yeah, no. Online now is become, acceptable, mode of, conveyance. And it's not necessary that you have to physically present at a particular place and present your case. And now it is accepted and well proved. Probably one of the good things COVID have produced. And probably we have to thank COVID for bringing technology into, even now today, the general body meeting, board meeting, lot of meetings, and even inauguration, so many things happening on online media. That is acceptable. Only thing is, as you say, that we need to create a massive awareness among the public, especially MSME sector, either a civil side or a commercial side, that mediation is the best way to get solution for their problems.
Surely, sir. Jawad, sir, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
I fully agree with what Mr. Annamalai has said. I think technology has revolutionized the way we communicate today. And see, there are different ways. When you talk of ODR, okay, ODR is a very it's a very big term. Like it encompasses quite a lot of things. Like disputes can be resolved on WhatsApp, disputes can be resolved through emails, dispute can be resolved over the phone, disputes can be resolved over Zoom meetings. All this comes under ODR. And there is also, artificial intelligence. So we are talking about AI now. For example, if you take Amazon, if you take Alibaba, now I am told that out of, I don't know the exact number, but approximately out of thousands of disputes that get resolved through their AI, only a few disputes come for a customer, company interface. Most of them are resolved through artificial intelligence. Now, which we are now moving. And, this whole definition of courts, the systems that we have been following, which are really become, now, as Mr. Annamalai said, COVID has revealed how much entrenched we have been in the past. And it has suddenly shown us the potential that the future holds for us. So it is time that we really embrace that future. The concept of lawyers, who are going to be the lawyers of the future. I would urge all my young students to read a book by Richard Susskind. I think it's called Future Lawyers. If somebody else knows the correct title, please help me here. Future Lawyers by Richard Susskind, Susskind. So he has written a book and he talks about a whole lot of things that lawyers are going to be doing in the future. So it is not, it's not going to be problem solving. It's going to be problem prevention. Okay, we are not going to be talking about solving the problem. We are going to be talking about preventing the problem, managing the problem. So conflict management, conflict prevention, all these things will be figuring out. So, AI can do a whole lot of work. And Of course, the question that arises is AI going to be replacing us? The question that was asked to me in one webinar, and my answer was this. I said, see, somebody told me that IBM has come out with this supercomputer called Watson, and Watson can look at your face and tell you what exactly you're feeling. So the question was, AI is capable of empathy also. Now, the answer to that is the empathy that Watson will show will be different from the empathy that Mr. Annamalai or Manya or Jawad can show, because when I'm talking to Manya and I'm expressing my emotions to Manya and Manya empathizes with me, I know that that is a genuine empathy because Manya can experience those same emotions that I do. But I know that Watson, when it shows the empathy to me, it's only showing it mechanically because Watson cannot feel what I'm feeling. So I'm not going to be much moved by that. And my final statement there was, as long as I cannot take Alexa or Siri out on a date, I'm very comfortable with artificial intelligence. It's not going to replace me. But technology is something that we need to embrace and we need to use it. I'll just give you one example and I'll stop, okay? Mediation I was doing before COVID started, okay? And it was a matrimonial mediation. And the wife was not coming for the mediation at all. We had 2 or 3 sessions where she didn't turn up because she had to come to the court and attend the mediation in the mediation center, and she was not coming. Then COVID happened. And then I asked the center, can I do this online? So I sent an email to both the parties asking them to come for the mediation. And this lady turned up for the mediation in the Zoom meeting. She came. I asked her, why did you not come for 2 or 3 sessions, which we had earlier? She said, I have a 2-year-old baby. I have nobody to look after the baby. I cannot leave the baby, come there and spend hours together, taking part in the mediation. Now, this is convenient. I have my child next to me. I'm taking care of my child. I'm doing my housework. It's convenient. I'm sitting casually here and I'm talking to you. I'm very comfortable here. And I was not feeling safe sitting in the same room with my husband. So you see, all these advantages are there. So the digital space is, what do we call that? It's time and space agnostic. Okay, it doesn't concern the time, it doesn't concern the space. Now, when I'm doing online mediations, I'm able to fix mediations depending on the convenience of everyone. Okay, now I can't do that if I'm working from somewhere else, right? If I from a physical space, like for example, if I'm sitting in the court or if I'm sitting in a center somewhere in a mediation center, I cannot fix it at my own convenience because I'll need all the paraphernalia, I'll need the staff to support me, I'll need so many things to be there. Whereas now I'm able to do it at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening. So it's time and space agnostic. So these are the advantages. So I think we should embrace. There are challenges, no doubt about it, because, sometimes there are, glitches in the network. There are problems, connectivity issues. And sometimes you don't know whether parties are, sitting there. What about the confidentiality? That's a question that is very often asked about, in mediation, confidentiality is paramount. So how do you know somebody else is not sitting over there? Now, what I do is I leave it to the parties. I always tell them that, look, I trust you. I'm not going to ask you to zoom, rotate the camera all over the room to see if there's anyone there or not, but I trust you. And it is in your own interest that you keep it confidential. And so far, I have done, I think, hundreds of mediations online from the time COVID started. I have never encountered any breach of confidentiality so far because you put it on them. It's their problem ultimately. So why should I suspect them or why should I, believe that they're going to breach the confidentiality? So it works, and we are able to connect. We're able to connect with each other. We are able to empathize. We are able to, communicate very effectively and in a safe environment also.
Yeah, that's true, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I request each and everyone to please fill up the feedback form mentioned in the chat box. So if that can be helpful for Corona mediation for us also, so that how we can implement further other webinars.
Anya, if you just have the time, can I just take 2 minutes to share one experience?
Yes, surely, sir. No worries. if you both of you have the time, I am always free. No worries.
Yeah, my next meeting is at 6, so I'll just take 2 minutes more. I hope Susan and all don't mind. See, there was
Yes,
this
no
mediation that I was doing. It was a partition dispute between two brothers. So the younger brother was shocked that the elder brother was asking for partition because they have been on very good terms. They were living in the same house like any, undivided family in India. They were living in the same house. Their children were all like common children, like, there was no differentiation, nothing, they're just like a typical Indian family. Now, all of a sudden, the younger brother's daughter gets married, and suddenly after that, he receives a notice from the elder brother saying, I want partition. Okay, so the suit is filed, and then they come for mediation. Now, the mediation, what came out was that the elder brother was feeling slighted, insulted, because he perceived his younger brother as not having respected him enough to involve him in the discussions, in the marriage arrangements and all that. And the younger brother, on the other hand, was feeling that, why was my elder brother staying aloof? Why was he not getting involved? The moment they came to know, the younger brother came to know, he apologized to the elder brother. He said, that was not my intention at all. And my daughter is your daughter. So where is the difference? And I thought you will be a part of it. I didn't know that you expected me to, invite you separately. So this is where I have really hurt you. I'm sorry, he said. He touched his feet and the matter was resolved. You see, there are so many, things that the court cannot do, which happen in mediation. Magic happens in mediation many times, especially where these emotions are concerned, where these relationships are concerned. Once the clarity comes in the parties' minds, the whole thing undergoes a transformation. So the potential is so huge. And see, the first option should be mediation. It's a natural way of resolving disputes. Yeah. Only because, see, we also recognize direct negotiation is the best way. But then we also understand that, we all have our own cognitive biases, we have our prejudices, we have our perceptions. And we always, we are not able to recognize those and overcome that. And that is where the mediator steps in. So mediation is nothing but facilitated negotiation, that's all.
Yeah.
So I believe the audience has better insights about the concept of mediation with respect to the industry of MSME. And on behalf of Karuna Mediation team, I would like to thanks to all the panelists for sparing their valuable time and sharing with us all their opinions, suggestions, and experiences especially. And I must also appreciate to all the panelists for their participation, asking up their queries, and wishing everyone a very happy, good day ahead, whichever is left. I think it's evenings now. And thank you for joining us. Soon we'll be back with another enlightening sessions on solving disputes through mediation. And I must say that don't forget to subscribe our channel on LinkedIn or on any social media platforms. And you must register to our further other series of webinars. We will be continuing the Saturday brainstorming series in January, especially, and in further more months too. And if anyone want to have the idea of about the trainings, you may please check out the links which has been mentioned in the chat box, and you can have the idea and concept. And if you have any problem or any query, you can book an appointment call too. There is an option of appointment call mentioned, which is totally free. You can have your time and date slots mentioned up there. I request and thank you everyone. I hope everyone has filled up the feedback form mentioned in the chat box so that it can be very helpful for us and for our team.
Thank you, Manya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste and thank you to everyone.